Hey everybody, welcome back to a Better Way with Kirsten podcast. I am Kirsten and thank you so much for joining me today. If you're watching this video on YouTube, please leave it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you find this information here useful. And if you're listening to me right now on Apple Podcast or Spotify, you can there leave me a 5-star rating and a review too, because that will help the show to grow. So thank you so much already for doing that. On this show, I'm talking to you about something called TMS, which is a condition where you may have sensations in the body, pain or other uncomfortable sensation, or multiple pains and sensations that nobody has been able to figure out. So you may be going to doctors, other healthcare providers, chiropractors, physical therapists, and so on, but nobody can tell you what is going on. You may have taken like countless food allergy tests or sensitivity tests, and nothing really shows up, or it's very inconsistent, and you're still having all these digestive issues. Like you can have so many problems that are actually not structural, not coming from the body, but they're coming from the brain. And that's what this really means when we talk about TMS. Your nervous system is in a heightened state, and the pain or other uncomfortable sensation in the body is there because of your brain and nervous system, not because there's actually physically something wrong with you. And of course, you want to be checked out before you decide that this truly is TMS. You want to make sure that you have talked to a medical provider or healthcare professional and know that, okay, something's not clicking here, something's not working, have to look into another thing, and this other thing might be really TMS. So on this show, I'm talking to you, a lot of the things I'm sharing are based on my own personal experience. So I had a chronic back pain for many, many years, and I still have a little bit of it. I'm not fully on the other side of it, but I want to share with you what I have learned from different resources, working with a coach. I've been in a couple of other like groups too, but lately I've been making more and more progress. And I want to shout out my coach, Jim Prusak. So he's the person that I've been working with, and I'm really, really grateful because he has really brought into my awareness the role of emotions and the role of stress. Because I find like a lot of times the basics TMS 101 solution is like tell your brain that you are safe. Don't be afraid of your symptoms, and there you go. And also stop going to doctors, and your brain and your sensations will go away. And I was getting these, it's getting these messages left and right. And I understood the TMS. I wasn't going to doctors anymore, totally done with that. I was telling myself that I'm safe. I was trying to convince my brain that we are okay, but it only got me to a certain point, and it didn't get me really beyond that. And really wasn't until I started working with Jim, who taught me so much more about emotions and stress and how these can cause these sensations in the body. So this is what I've learned over the last year plus, and I have made significant improvements. And what I'm sharing with you is based on my own experience. And I just want to share this because I know that a lot of people are suffering the same way and maybe feel like, okay, where I have gotten with this like TMS 101 tools, it just got me to a certain point, but now I'm stopped. And, what do I do next? So I think here is really important that we start to work with our emotions and that we start addressing our stress. These are the two things that are super critical if the endless, like, I'm safe talk doesn't work for you anymore. And if it does, I think by all means, keep doing it. Honestly, whatever it is that makes you feel better. There's so many different tools in the TMS world. Whatever makes you feel better, just do it because not everybody is the same. People respond to different things. Some people need to just hear the basics. Other people, like myself, needed to go a little bit more deep into understanding how the brain works, and what's actually happening there, how emotions can cause it. So I needed to understand a little bit more before I started to make more significant progress. But I'm doing a lot better and definitely have had longer periods of no pain or very low pain. And this really happened when I started doing like this kind of work, like understanding personality traits, emotions, stress, and so on. And like I said, this came when I started working with my coach. So huge shout out to him. So today I want to talk about pressure. I want to talk about pressure that we put on ourselves. And like I said, everything I share is like my own experience. And I'm the master of putting pressure on myself. Totally admit this. And if you listen to the podcast episode that I did with my friend and the physiotherapist Liis Kukkonen, I also asked her, okay, let's say that a person is not afraid of movement, and is not avoiding her life, which is, you want to make sure that you do move and that you don't avoid your life if you have TMS because you can't break yourself, right? You don't have any physical problem there. I asked her, so what is it then if a person is already moving, not avoiding life? And she said, well, it's the personality traits and, not being happy with certain things and always striving for more. And I totally, I was here like raising my hand. I know this is me. And one really common thing to those people who experience TMS pain is that they do put a lot of pressure on themselves. And I think maybe you can raise your hand together with me because we are really good at this, aren't we? So if you are the person who puts a lot of pressure on yourself, this could look like you're always trying to be very productive. You're always trying to solve problems. You're always trying to fix something, and you're always busy, right? You're always doing something. Today, somebody told me that even when I go to the bathroom, I'm sitting there, I'm already thinking about what is the next thing that I'm going to do, next thing, next thing, next thing. And this might sound familiar to you. Like literally every second of your day is filled with thoughts and thoughts and thoughts and more thoughts. And then, of course, actions like what do I have to do? What am I going to do next? Right. And this is so much pressure on your nervous system. It's like you never catch a break. You're not giving yourself a break. And of course, we can talk about like why this is. This could be a childhood pattern. Maybe you learn that you have to achieve to be good enough or to be seen as good enough. And then you just learned how to push yourself to the max all the time. And no matter how much you pushed, it still wasn't enough. And that's why you now feel like you have to push even more, right? Otherwise, you're not happy with yourself. So I want to show you a couple of real life experiences, how this constant pressure and constant like thinking, thought activity might show up in your life. So here are some examples. Let's say that you're standing in a checkout line at the grocery store and you're going to take out your phone and you're like, I'm going to real quick check some messages, right? I'm real quick check some messages. And then there you are typing and texting people back and doing stuff like that. Another one could be you're at the gym and you're finishing your set and you're gonna sit down and you immediately take out your phone and start seeing, okay, what's going on social media, or is there an email that I should get back to? But let me just check it real quick. Even though your break between the sets is maybe just a minute long, you still feel like you have to distract yourself with something. You have to be productive and get something done during that time. And sometimes I look around at the gym and half the time I don't even listen to anything. Sometimes I do listen and a lot of times I actually don't either. I look around the gym and I'm like one of the few people who doesn't listen to something. And lately I've been making a habit of leaving my phone in the car or home so that I don't have the opportunity to check all the time everything, because I do feel how it is putting extra pressure on myself. I'm distracting myself more. And this is really overstimulating when I'm doing this between the sets, because at the gym, there's already so many people, so many lights, loud music. And now, do I really need to add another layer to that? And this is up to you. If you like it, do it. If you feel like you need to listen to something, do it. But you don't definitely have to check your messages or social media between every set, because it's so distracting for your brain and it does put like a lot of pressure on your system. I feel like if you're constantly switching modes, right? You just finished your set. Now you're going to take out your phone, you're going to check things, you're going to go back to your set. So I have personally found, and of course, I'm not perfect with this, but I have found that if I stop that habit and then don't check the phone, I actually do better at the gym too, because I am now fully focused on my workout, how I'm performing, how my muscles are feeling, is my form good? And honestly, especially when I'm working with very heavy weights, I just cannot focus if there's like a big weight in front of me and I want to lift it up, because if I listen to something, it's usually a podcast and sometimes they might say something funny. I'm like, man, I'm gonna drop that weight if I start laughing. So I'm just not gonna listen to much at all. But between the sets, yes, like, see, do you really need to check the phone all the time, or can you focus on your workout and focus on that break and how your body's feeling? Another example would be, let's say that you're making dinner, and while you're making dinner, you're also doing many things at once at the same time. So typically, again, you would have your phone there, you would check your social media, maybe take some pictures, maybe text somebody back. And again, example from my own personal experience is when I had my other Instagram account where I shared a lot more about nutrition and training, which I'm still passionate about, but I just don't share as much there at the moment anymore. But then I thought that I have to share every step of my life on my Instagram account. So I would make my dinner, and there was my phone, and I was like taking pictures of my ground beef and my bell peppers and I don't know what, and like show every step of the cooking and what I was doing. And it was just so much. And it's again very distracting. So why can't I just do one thing at a time, which is making a meal and maybe becoming more present? Because even cooking can be more mindful experience. Let's say that you are chopping carrots. You could bring all your focus to this activity alone and do it with your full presence. And believe it or not, it does make your brain put your brain into more calm and settled state if you do one thing at a time versus like constant mode switching and grabbing your phone, and then your hands are dirty. You have to wash your hands, and then like there's like so many things that you have to do when you're like juggle like multiple things at once. So what are you doing when you're making dinner? Do you really have to check everything at the same time? And then in general, when you try to squeeze in like little activities between all the other activities. So one example would be you're gonna put the dishes away while you are prepping your lunch, and at the same time you're vacuuming your house and checking your kids' homework and responding to work emails. So it's a mess. You're doing like a million things at once, and you're constantly feeling like you're always very rushed, right? You're rushed, you're moving around. What's the next thing? What's the next thing? Oh, I have a minute here. What can I squeeze in here? And I really want you to start paying attention to where you're doing this and start reducing this. And I think another one, the last one I want to mention here is, and that's really funny in a way, is that when people say, okay, let me squeeze in a meditation here because I know that everybody needs to meditate and I need to. So let me just squeeze it in here real quick. And that totally defeats the purpose of meditation. If you're like, okay, between I put the dishes away and check my kids' homework, I have 3 minutes, let me do this meditation. So it's checked off the list. And what is the point of meditation, really, right? It's being in the present moment. You can meditate also when you're putting the dishes away. I think like if you make it a really mindful experience. But if your meditation is like squeezed in, like rushed, like thrown between the million other activities, it doesn't matter that you now checked it off the to-do list. You actually didn't get much out of it because you were doing it in such a rushed state. So doing so many things at once gives us this false sense of or illusion of productivity. And we feel like we got a lot done, but at the same time, what we got out of it was more like just this really ramped up nervous system that is now in super high alert. And everything's kind of like buzzing, 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 because you're always thinking, what do you have to do next? And if your nervous system is more ramped up as a result of you doing so many things at once, then that's going to likely cause more of these TMS sensations and pains, because this is not actually a very healthy and normal state to be in constantly. And that's why I really encourage you that you start looking at where you are doing this in your life, that you are doing a million things at once, and how does it make you feel? Does it really make you feel like, oh, that was good. I feel like good and kind of settled and relaxed, or is it the opposite? Is it like you're actually feeling more buzzy, anxious, have this high energy, but not in a good way, high energy, but it's very anxious energy? And I'm pretty sure that this is how you feel. This is definitely how I feel. And I've had to work really hard on this habit myself too. And there are times when I have to tell myself multiple times a day still that do the opposite. And these times happen when I, for example, I have two client calls back to back. And in the meantime, I'm like, let me check my phone. But I'm going to tell myself, do the opposite. And the opposite is like not grabbing the phone, obviously, right? And then being like, there's a 5 minute break, maybe a 10-minute break. I don't need to grab my phone. I don't need to distract my mind with more things. I don't have to, immediately check my messages when I have a free moment, or I don't have to like Google a random fact that came to my mind. I wonder what this is about. So I'm just gonna go and Google real quick. It's like all these like little things that you may get like millions a day. When you get that, like ask yourself, is it really that important right now? And how does it make me feel? And then I really encourage you to pause there and not do more, right? But instead tell yourself like, do the opposite and just, take a little break there and let things be without having to fill every second with something quote unquote useful that might actually put your nervous system on a very high alert. So when you start allowing more breaks like this and put them into your day, your nervous system will start to settle down too. And I have definitely noticed it. Literally just like I said, I have like 5 minutes between the calls or something like that. I could just sit there and watch my breathing or do something more mindful or like listen to the sounds. So I have in my program Emotionally Fit, I have one exercise where you're listening to the sounds. You try to find one and two and three and four different sounds. So you are in silent, you're just listening to these things. So you're like tuning into the present moment and you are just you're calming your system down this way instead of like going like Googling stuff, responding to messages, checking Instagram, and so on. And it can be so uncomfortable at first to not fill that time with like the busy work, doing something busy. It can be super uncomfortable because we're so used to it and we think that, oh, we're productive. But if you really have like 1 to 5 minutes, and if you want to work on like calming your nervous system down and get more healing through that, then I'm going to recommend that you do that. I'm going to give you a couple of other thoughts, like what you could do. So the first thing, like I said, you could just like take a pause and breathe and make your breathing so that your exhale is longer than inhale. Do that for 5 minutes. You don't have to Google this random fact or text back right now. Do that for a couple of minutes. Like inhale and exhale and make the exhale longer than the inhale was. The other thing that you can do is to check in with your emotion. What is coming up? Like, why do I get this urge to do something else, right? What is this? And then you may feel like you're feeling anxious or you're feeling angry or something is pissing you off, but now you're just distracting yourself with just texting or whatever the other things are that I just mentioned. So instead, ask yourself, okay, I'm angry. So, let yourself then be angry. Feel it for a moment. Maybe you find it in the body, how it feels, and then just be with this uncomfortable sensation. So you can ask, what is the emotion right now? What am I feeling right now? And the other thing, you can also watch your thoughts, right? And maybe you can find, oh, there's negative self-talk. It tells me that if you don't put the dishes away while you have this 1 minute, you're lazy person. That's not good enough. Or if you don't do another kind of household work or respond to an email during your 1 minute break, you may tell yourself that, oh my God, I'm going to run out of time and the day is going to be over and I didn't get enough done. So again, this is like very panicky. This is pretty self-critical thought, like I have to get everything done. Then notice that, right? Oh, there's this self-critical thought. I'm probably putting pressure on myself. So how can I reduce that pressure? okay, I'm just not going to do this right now. I'm going to choose the other thing, which is just being with this, in this like 1 minute or 5 minutes and not doing anything. And the reason why I'm telling you, like, to have these pauses and these breaks is that I have really found for myself that they do help me settle down and calm down. And I don't end my day in this like super hyped up state that where I used to be all the time before. It used to be like very nervous and very kind of anxious. And every night I would, get to bed and like, still have so many things to do, right? Like never really satisfied with what I did. And this very like high anxious energy was there. And now it's more like when I give myself these breaks, then the whole system gets the opportunity to settle down. Because when you think about it, how much of your day do you spend in this very like sympathetic activity, which is like, high alert, thinking, problem solving, being in action? And how much of your day are you in this parasympathetic, which is slowing down, rest and digest, relax? And we know that in order to recover from these mind-body conditions, we have to spend more time in the parasympathetic sympathetic side, right? So that side should be more activated, but it just isn't if we are constantly in this problem-solving mode. So see if you can start balancing these things out a little bit more so that you don't spend all your day putting so much pressure on yourself, squeezing million things into your day, like tiny things, and then feeling super hyped up and super anxious. So pay attention to this thing and start taking more breaks. I really have found that this has been very helpful in my own healing journey as well. So I also mentioned the course Emotionally Fit. If you want to check that out, then definitely do it. The link is in the show notes. And also my 14-day course, Strong and Sensitive. This is a totally free course that everybody can sign up for. So I recommend it to people who have TMS and or they are highly sensitive and they need some mindset tools to get going. And they also want to get started with exercise again, with strength training, because I have tools for that too. And pre-workouts that you can check out. So this course is completely free. So this is called Strong and Sensitive. You can sign up. And the other one was Emotionally Fit, which is um, how to explore your emotions so that you can start getting relief from chronic sensations. Okay, this is all I have for you today. Thank you so much for being here. I hope you enjoyed today's episode, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care.